Hello, beautiful light beam. Welcome back this week. I'm your host, Kasha, and I'm so delighted that you can join me for another episode here on the Soul Led Spirit Driven podcast. I'm excited we get to spend the next 30 minutes together. And today, I want to uncover a little bit more for you around why you are more than just this physical being, this human. So I've spoken so many times about the fact that you are more soul than human, that only 10% of you is this physical being. But what does this really actually mean? And I was sitting with this, I'm like, does this actually help anyone to know that we're more soul than human and we're only 10% physical being? You see, in my soul path sessions, when you come in, you get this sacred information from your Akashic records, like your soul's blueprint, and it outlines everything about your soul, everything that has happened before, that is happening between lifetimes, and how it relates to where you are now. And when I say everything, I don't just mean like past lives. I mean, there are past lives that come through, and believe me, you've had so many. Chances are you've had hundreds. So there's no way we could squeeze that into one session, but the relevant ones come through. And with my EarthSchoolers, especially last year, and we will more next year, we've been talking a lot about, life lessons and a cosmic race. And we've done this in other containers. But if you are listening to this podcast, you have never had a session with me, you've never been in any of my containers, heck, perhaps you're new here. And this could be like your first episode that you're listening to, which, by the way, thank you for being here and welcome. Then if I just came and told you you are more soul than human, or that you are only 10% this physical being and the rest is outside of it, energy that you can actually manipulate, well, I don't know that that would actually mean much to you. All right, what do I do with that? So in this episode, I want to break down the information that comes through in a soul path session so that you can start to see how you are so much more than who you think you are, so much more who you even think you can be. That is really just the tip of the iceberg. And I hope that this information in this episode will be the beginning of your greater expansion. I don't want to say your first expansion or the expansion, because I believe we are here in this physical world, playing this character in this human suit to rediscover, uncover more and more. And it's a whole journey. It doesn't happen on your day one. It may not happen in your 20s. And it's certainly not meant to happen overnight. It is a journey. But the more you uncover about who you really are, the more powerful I hope you will feel, the more capable you will feel. And I hope that this will encourage you to start manipulating the energy around you in a way that you then can create the life that you came here for. So before I dive into these elements of you, let me just tell you a little bit about your soul's purpose coming down here, because I feel that we still get a little bit twisted about our life here and what it's meant to be and what it's not. So you see, when your soul decides to come into a subsequent lifetime, like for example, this one, it chooses to do so for three main reasons: to work through some more karma, which hopefully by now you know is not a bad thing. It's just life lessons, experiences, missions that the soul wants to experience, good or bad, doesn't matter. And also to awaken as a human and realize, wow, I am powerful. I can bring forward the qualities from up there into this physical world. I can exist in both worlds simultaneously. And I can use all my senses, not just the physical senses, but all my senses to navigate through this earth life. And that will make it a little bit easier. So to awaken is to start remembering that, hang on, I came here for a reason. I did not just wind up here to wander aimlessly and take whatever is given to me. And number 3 is to help others, to be the spark for others, whether it's to help them to awaken, whether it's to heal them and elevate them, whether it's to make them see that they are powerful, benevolent, beautiful beings themselves. And this is your work, right? In human terms, this is what you choose to do, to work, or as we humans would say, to leave a legacy, to do your most purposeful work, right? So these are the 3 main reasons why a soul decides to go into each subsequent life. Now, through learning life lessons, the soul grows and expands. And it almost acts like a finger on your hand, God being the hand. And each finger is a soul that is having its own unique experience, that through which God is experiencing itself. So soul grows through that. The negative experiences, the positive, the good, the bad, the heartbreaks, the loves, the grief, and the excitement when a new life is born. Everything from losing job, starting their own company, owning a lot of cars, or living somewhere in a bush, very much like a hermit. It doesn't matter. The soul, each soul is on its own journey. And depending on where you are in the evolution of that soul, you will either care more about the ego stuff, like the materialistic stuff, and you will find it harder to connect to this greater awareness that there is more, that owning a great car or having a great pair of sneakers is just a teeny tiny bonus of being here. But there is so much more. And if you are a slightly more evolved soul, you will find it easier to navigate through this life. You will see the soul beneath the human much easier. Now, I happen to work with souls who are awoken or have just awoken, and they have this huge sense of feeling lost or stuck because the world as they know it no longer exists. Isn't that crazy? We still live in the same world. The world continues to evolve at its own pace, and yet you will wake up one day feeling like things are different. The tree will still be outside of your room, outside of your window. The fence of your neighbor will still exist there, right? There might be the same driveway, the same colored house, But yet things have changed. Things have changed because you have awoken. There is actually scientific stuff that happens in your brain, and that is usually caused by a breakdown or stress or grief or an accident or the loss of something or someone that you love dearly. But it doesn't have to be that. For me, it happened when my dad passed away, and I chose to have an experience where I wanted to experience his presence, and that cracked me open in many ways. That was the beginning of the end, but also the beginning of the new me. So you are here for more. Now, regardless of where you are on a scale of evolution of your soul, you're not here. No one comes here to accept what life gives them. Okay? Let me say this again. No one comes here to accept what life gives them. So if you somehow ended up in a family that was poor or abusive, that is not supposed to be your story that you carry through your life. You are not supposed to be poor because you started off poor, or be a victim because you started off as one, or be, alone, or perhaps unwell. You are here to take the experiences that you've had, look at them, learn from them, grow from them, and hopefully through this growth, you will come out on the other side being able to be the spark for others. So just because you were born to a poor family, you're not meant to stay that way necessarily. Your soul maybe is picking up where it left off, right? Because in past lives, perhaps was a bit greedy, had too much money, didn't use it in a nice way, perhaps took free will from another human. And so I wanted to experience what it feels like to be poor, humble, have gratitude. And so it started off perhaps as poor. But thanks to awakening and realizing and remembering that there is so much more, that there was a manual that was left behind. There's a plan for this journey, and that this beautiful human has actually powers beyond the physical senses to navigate its way through this life. And then we tap into our intuitive gifts, our ability to create things. We bring forth qualities from other lifetimes, perhaps lifetimes that weren't even on Earth. And you take the memory of past lives like a learning pad where you go like, oh, that's where things went wrong. And somehow that energy carried through, but we no longer have to be afraid, or we no longer have to hide away or dim our light. We can actually shine bright, speak up, fight for what we believe in. So you're definitely not here to play small. No one is. So this brings me now to the information that usually is revealed in a soul path session. And how are we going to put this out? Okay, so let me start with the categories. Now, please know, for everyone, this will be so different, okay? You are so unique. You have your own unique blueprint. But the categories at which I guess, received this information, or how I received this information, are always the same. So the first thing that usually comes through are a person's soul gifts. Now, soul gifts are generally the gifts that a soul has chosen. And in my experience, these gifts are the same in each lifetime. A soul doesn't usually change them up. It's like the makeup of this soul. But sometimes something happens in a soul's lifetime and it chooses to shut down this gift. It may also acquire a different gift or replace it with something different. Now, when I say replace it, this gift doesn't really fully go away. It just stays dormant for lifetimes, maybe even. And the way I see it in my clients is when I read out these gifts to them, usually they identify all of them. Like, yes, this resonates. Yes, this resonates. But then there's the odd one or two that they're like, oh, I've never thought of myself this way, or I didn't know I have this gift. Something doesn't resonate. Generally, it's these big ones like intuitive leader, catalyst for change. And that is because that gift, something happened in your timeline and your soul decided to shut it down just to stay safe. So what we do is we activate it. And then usually what happens for my clients in a matter of, I don't know, days, weeks, opportunities start to arise where they need to use this particular gift that they never thought they have. And there it is, and they can see it. So what are these gifts? It could be leader. It could be healer. It could be that you are a catalyst for change, or you're here to inspire and motivate. Or it could be also that perhaps you're a counselor. You're a teacher, guide, and mentor. Now, you would usually have a combination of somewhere between 5 to 8. And they just want me to circle back to healer and explain the healer. So the healer is not necessarily the way we think about it. You don't have to become a doctor or a nurse. You can heal with words and be a beautiful poet or writer. You can heal with music when you create, compose, sing. You can be a healer who uses energy or plants. Or you might be a shaman and you find pieces, missing pieces of the soul. You can be a painter and paint art that heals. So when a gift like this pops up, I often say to my clients, this is like your box, okay? And you get to, as a human, use your free will and choose how you want to use it. Now, then, we get insights as to, well, you've been a healer, let's say a plant medicine healer, herbalist, healing with energy in other lifetimes, and that energy seems to be still potent for you. And usually my client will either resonate with, I've always been interested in plant medicine, or this is why I became a naturopath, or herbalist. Or they might say, I've been thinking about doing Reiki for the longest time, but then I thought, I don't really know if I have what it takes. So these are the gifts, the soul gifts, and they really help you to see, I guess, your potential, your gifts, who you are here. And also these are gifts that you will share with others. This is how, when you look at them, it gives you an idea of how you do your work here. And sometimes some gifts are stronger and some are less potent. You have all of them. But the reason they're stronger is because your soul really wanted to continue perhaps as a healer or as a teacher. So then we go over to your lives. Now, like I said, you have had probably hundreds of lifetimes. I can usually receive information whether you've had lifetimes here on Earth or lifetimes here on Earth and somewhere else. Most of the people that come to me are star seeds or star travelers. I have not yet had an Earth soul No, I'm lying. I did have an EarthSchool. It was a friend who was curious, and I did it for them. And that was really challenging, but it also made me realize that this is why people have to come to me. There's no point in using this as a party trick. And I love that Spirit showed it to me in this way. Because whoever comes to me really needs this information and they're ready to hear it. But if I use it as a party trick just to kind of go like, yeah, sure, let's tap in, which by the way, I don't do anymore. But it was fun in the beginning, that one experience for Spirit to show me. But if I do it like that, it just creates this disconnection because this person isn't actually ready for it. It wasn't what they thought. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't mind knowing what my past life is. Sure, why not? Could be fun. Well, that's not why we look at past lives. We look at past lives to find answers to our life here, the patterns that we have, the loves we attract, the people we attract, why we are the way we are. And then hopefully, if something doesn't resonate, we use past life energy to release it. Okay, so let's go to life lessons. So, my friend, life lessons are like these beautiful golden threads that weave through the most decadent garment through your life. And there's usually 2 or 3 that will be very dominant, like your soul is really keen to learn them in this lifetime. And then there are some that perhaps either your soul is almost done learning or hasn't started learning yet. They're not as important. They're more like secondary life lessons. Well, there they go, saying they're all important, but they're less relevant. Thank you. They're less relevant at this present moment while you're working on the main life lessons. So, like I said, life lessons are like the missions that your soul wants to embark on, wants to learn, wants to experience. And sometimes these are painful life lessons, and then it wants to experience the opposite. Now, there is this thing in the universe, law of personal responsibility, and it states that no being ever is allowed to take away another being's free will. And it works brilliantly everywhere except here on Earth. This is the only place where other beings, humans, don't respect your free will and the free will of each other's. Just doesn't. So while I'm at it, let me tell you that this free will also means that you cannot be possessed by another being. Or even if you were, telling them to go away and they must listen. But let's come back to life lessons. So what are the most common life lessons that I see? And again, I love the pattern because there is like, I think off the top of my head, somewhere around over 60 life lessons. And I tend to see a handful in patterns usually. And it would be like 2 clients that booked a session, 2 separate clients that don't know each other, and they booked a session within the same week or in the same period, like one after the other. And they would have very similar life lessons. So some of the life lessons are inner strength, inner authority, discernment, abundance, bliss, and happiness. Whew, this one, actually, my guides were saying, is a way to navigate through this life. Always come back to feeling blissful and happy. Then we have spirituality, learning, self-love, self-worth, assertiveness. These are just a few. There's really a lot. And so in this culmination of a few life lessons, all of a sudden, your life makes sense. Because now you're understanding the experiences you've had in the past, in this lifetime. You understand the people in your life, why there was that grade 6 bully that was tormenting you, and you just couldn't stand up to them. And why perhaps you were born to abusive parents who didn't show you love, because you're here to learn self-love. Now, how easy would it be to stay in that story and believe that you are not worthy of being loved? That the universe must really hate you. God must hate you to have put you in care of these parents that are incapable of loving you. And therefore, you tend to attract relationships and people that always use you and abuse you, and no one seems can love you. Wouldn't that be the easiest way to stay in that situation, that story? When actually your life lesson is to learn self-love. And in that moment, if we have no one around us who can reflect back to us self-love, or that we are worthy of being loved, that we are that special, connecting to your guides is the quickest and most profound way to experience love. So from life lessons, we move on to, there's a couple little things which I cannot remember because they vary. But the next big thing I want to tell you about is that before your soul had any incarnations anywhere, any lifetimes, just after it was created, it was sent to learn from one of the 7 archangels. So in the universe, there are 7 archangelic realms. And each archangelic realm corresponds to one of our energy centers, being the chakras. And so depending on where you were sent, which archangel became your teacher, your guide, your mentor, your protector, you will embody this archangel's qualities. And also, that chakra, that energy center that corresponds to this archangel is the most powerful one. But at the same time, it gets targeted the fastest, which means it gets out of balance really, really quickly. So we have Archangel Zadkiel, Zophiel, Uriel or Ariel. We have Camiel or Shamiel. We have Archangel Raphael, Gabriel, and Archangel Michael. And depending on which archangel you learned from, you will embody these beautiful qualities, which again tells us even more about ourselves. All of a sudden, you understand why you are so selfless, so loving, so caring. You understand why you can't help but see the good in people. Now, also, when you know your archangel, of course, you can call any archangel you like whenever you need it, but yours is right there walking beside you. So in those moments when you're feeling sad or stuck, you just ask him. And archangels have this powerful presence, but more so their energy. It's uplifting. It brings hope. It brings this knowing that everything will be okay. So after archangels, after the archangelic realms, we look at your soul group. Oh my gosh, this is like my most favorite, because there's so many cosmic races. Now, I am not what I would call a galactic channeler. I don't consider myself, but as I'm being reminded now, labels, and we don't like to place labels on ourselves. But I believe there are people who, beautiful light workers, who continuously channel these cosmic races. They work with them. They have a greater understanding of who they are, how they work with us, how we can learn from them. My work is more around channeling for you your soul group. And by knowing where you came from, what soul group, what star seed, you will have this greater understanding of your qualities, of why you are the way you are. And then you can connect with them, ask them for healings, ask them to come and work with you and help you to make your work more potent. You can learn from them, and you can definitely bring forward the qualities that you had when you were amongst them. So some of the cosmic races that I guess you might have heard are Pleiadians, Sirians. Who remembers Lionsgate? That's when Sirians shine. Arcturians, beautiful healers. And often my clients, when they're connected with the Arcturian soul family, they use them, for lack of a better word, to help them make their work more potent. Together they work, through each other they work, and the clients have phenomenal benefits. Pleiadians, I skimmed over them, but I want to tell you they are these phenomenal architects, creators, manifestors. And what I love about the Pleiadians, because they are like the true light workers, they're beautiful, but everything on Pleiadius happens very, very fast. Manifesting happens like this, instantly. And so to match that energy, when they started coming down to Earth, many lifetimes ago, when the first Pleiadians started coming down, when they come down to match that energy, they chose lives or lifestyles that were fueled by adrenaline, fast-paced, right? So often, and this is the other thing, because they are very impatient, they like to get from A to B very, very fast. They don't care about the small minutiae in between. They chose lifestyles of barbarians, warriors, fighters, conquerors, right? To get and acquire things really, really fast. Now, from a human perspective, we might judge this and say they must be bad souls or evil souls, but really, the soul is beautiful. It's just the experience they wanted to have. So the actor choosing to play the villain. So through this knowing of your soul group, you actually understand even more that you aren't just this teeny tiny, insignificant human that just ended up in this crazy world, right? As an accident of nature. God knows why. I don't know why I'm here, what I'm supposed to do. All of a sudden, you see that there is so much more to you, and you have connections with powerful beings. The Alcerians are highly, highly intelligent beings, and they share their knowledge, their wisdom with Earth humans. Not to mention when a Syrian is born into this world. Think of Tesla. Think of Steve Jobs. Think of Einstein. They're these powerful, ahead of their time thinkers, creators, inventors, leaders in many ways. And they change this physical world for better, forever. They move us forward. If it wasn't for them, we would be still sitting in the dark. So from then, we go into my last favorite bit. And these are the main categories. So the last bit that I also adore is your afterlife career. What you do when you are not in your physical suit. And so generally a soul, I find, has chosen to be in one or two realms, and it interchanges. Sometimes it goes into one, and then after the next lifetime, it goes into another. And you embody the qualities of that role, and again, bring it forth into your next lifetime. So some of the more memorable afterlife careers that I am always fascinated by is, for example, the incubator soul. Now, the incubator soul works in what is called a slumber chamber. And in there, it will either prepare brand new souls for the first lifetimes on Earth, or it works with souls that have just returned back, and especially the ones that died suddenly or as a result of suicide, murder, accident. And it helps them by being loving, nurturing. That energy is so powerful. And in those slumber chambers, they just rest and they raise their vibration. They're not even ready yet for their life review or healing. They just are still so entwined in the human characteristics, personality, ego, which is bringing their energy down. So as a human, incubator soul is very nurturing, very caring. They make great parents. Often women are stay-at-home moms, and all they want to do is look after their family and create a beautiful home. And I've had a client who actually was always feeling bad about it because the people around her, not her immediate family, but friends, were saying, well, don't you want more out of life? Don't you want to do something for yourself? And she truly didn't. She was so happy to just create this wonderful, warm atmosphere at home, be hands-on mom, be there when the kids get home from school, greet them with a warm cake or biscuits. And that was what she really, truly adored. But every now and then she felt guilty. And she asked herself, should I want more? Because it seems that the world expects me to do more. Am I being lazy? And when we looked at her soul's journey and this came out, it all made sense. This is why she is the nurturer, the carer in her family. And that's all she needs to do, because that's all she wants to do. That's what her soul wants to do. And all of a sudden, it didn't matter what anyone else thought she should be doing or should want for herself, because she knew she was in the right place. Another really, really powerful one is life review. And life review works with a counselor, and they work with souls who, yes, when they transition, they come over and they get to look at the Akashic records. They review their life. And I've been told it's not like Judgment Day. It's more like you get to take notes and you say, oh, that didn't work out as I hoped. Or I could have been a bit more caring there. You get to see everything from this bird's eye view. You get to see how someone who was perhaps toxic was at home, or what their childhood was like. And all of a sudden, the soul gains this higher understanding of how they acted versus this person or this event. It's like the curtains pulled back and you can see it all. And again, that's not to judge your performance as a human, but more to give you insights. How can we do better next time? What would you like to explore next time? The only time a soul is encouraged to have deeper, more powerful healings is when they've taken another human's life. Because remember, taking that free will away, which happens when, someone is murdered, you have taken that free will away. That is the only time when a soul is encouraged to do deep, deep healing where the ego is stripped. And I guess the problem is, problem for the souls is when they're so in depth in that personality, in that character, in that human, when they're so immersed in it that they cannot see beyond it. So they are still acting from that anger, from that spitefulness, from that deceitness. And that's a whole nother show, but they may not want to go to healing. They may want to vibrate lower, much closer to our earthly world. Then there are those who cross over and they have committed suicide, perhaps. That was the reason they crossed over. They're vibrating low because they're so sad or disappointed or in shock. And so they need to have a space where they can raise their vibration so that they can go into the higher realms and receive healing. No soul is ever left behind. No soul is ever lost. No soul is ever punished, because we do not come down here to be mice in an experiment and God is sitting up there and rubbing his hands and laughing because we fail or we don't do so well, or here we go again, they've given in to greed or lust. That's not how it is. A soul chooses to have this earthly experience for their own growth and development, and because it's exciting, something else is happening. There's only love and connection and understanding up there. So therefore, they are not judged for their actions. They're healed with a lot of love and compassion. And it's only when a soul chooses not to go further that they stay in what I guess us humans describe a limbo state, but it's really just that they're closer to earth. And they tend to stay in anger. They choose to stay in resentment, in guilt, in holding a grudge perhaps towards people that are down there. That can happen. But still, everyone tries to get them to come up, raise their vibration and move up. So these are some knowings from like a soul path session that I wanted to share with you so that you can see that there is so much more to you. You are way more complex than you think you are. And it's not that you need to choose parts of you. You are all of it. You are the star seed, and you are this seed that was in multiple past lives. And you are also this beautiful angelic soul that was in the angelic realms. And you are here to be a healer, perhaps, or a teacher, or a catalyst for change, or a leader. You get to choose. That's why you have your free will. You get to choose how you want to use these gifts and how you will learn these life lessons. And yes, there are people that might trigger the heck out of you, and there could be people that are hurtful. And it's easy to get lost in that. But if you can, after this, look beyond the human and see the soul that has perhaps taken one for the team and said yes to being a teacher here to give you opportunities to learn your life lessons, self-love, inner peace, assertiveness, inner strength. And at the same time, remember that this human, just like you, has not taken this manual down with them. They may not even have awakened yet. And so they do the best they can with what they have, with the little memory that they have. And they use their free will, and some will abuse it, and some will use it in a benevolent way. But each and every time, in each and every moment, the most important thing to remember when you cannot remember anything else and you feel stuck, or you feel bad or guilty, or you feel triggered after something someone said or did, is feel it and then go, how can I get back to bliss and happiness? That is your authentic state. How do I get back? And in that moment, in that journey to go from this negative feeling to bliss and happiness, that's where the greatest learning happens. That's when your soul expands each and every moment. And hopefully, through all that, you will see that the moments where you start to feel sad or triggered or bad or guilty by something someone said or did, or you've seen something happen in the world, those moments will be far and few between. And you will have more and more blissful, happy moments. So beautiful, light beam. Thank you for listening. I would love to hear your biggest takeaways from this episode, whether you're seeing it, watching it, or listening to it. I would love to know your biggest takeaways. And if you feel like exploring it further, whether it's in a Soul Path session or EarthSchool or Soul School, then all my links will be below so you can find me easily. Thank you. And I look forward to being in your ears again next week. Bye for now.